Hi, this is Greg Miller with Solar Innovations. Today we're going to be walking through the WindowMaster environment, the ways we wire them, and the methods to configure them, as well as the way the different components can interact. The table in front of me here is our in-house kind of training kiosk that walks through our most common configurations. So we'll talk about what the pieces are. This is the actual controller. This is one of the most standard ones that will leave this building with our products. It's a 310 control panel. It is digital. It has an LCD touchscreen for the configuration, as well as modular cards that are connected to the individual pieces that you actually might have on your project. The motor here in the back is a -1 motor. This would be a motor used in say a projected or casement window that might be in your structure or a standalone window. The two motors out here are -2 WMUs. These motors are connected together. This would be for something like an E-vent where two motors power one vent. Then we have a manual switch here in the middle, which is for on the wall, manually opening and closing your products. We have a thermostat, which would be your ridge vents, E-vents, so that way they open automatically when it gets to a certain temperature. And then a wind and rain sensor. The part up here is the wind, and the little chip here is the rain sensor. So what we'll start with is how we actually connect these to the panel and what tools are necessary to do it. One of the things you'll need is a small Torx wrench set. The torque wrench is in the actual power supply for the line voltage side to take the cover off. They do this that way the cover doesn't accidentally get taken off. You ideally would also have a pin release tool. If you don't have a pin release tool, you can use a really small nail or precision flathead screwdriver in place of it, but the pin release tool will make that part a lot easier. I also recommend that you tin and solder the end of the wires that are going to go into these. It makes it a lot easier to push them into the push pin location when most of these wires are stranded. So your connections that happen first is down here is your line voltage power. You'll obviously want to do this with everything in the off position. You'll have your hot, your neutral, and your ground. The ground screw does connect to the can itself for code reasons. Then the next most important items are going to be these top left two blocks. They're going to be S1X1 and S1X2. These are your motor line groups. The way this one is configured is S1X1, this top block, connects to this lone motor over here, and the S1X2 connects to our pair. You'll notice that -2 is in parallel. Anytime you see a -2 motor in WindowMaster, they need to be in parallel. That's because the green is not ground, it is communication. So what it's doing is it's making sure that it sees its matched motor. If it can't see its partner, it will throw an error and it will not function. Then we move into the X3 and X4. These are configurable terminals. Most of these here on out are configurable, which means you can put whatever accessory you want on them and make the connections in the program. However, X3 and X4 are most commonly used for anything that can signal an out position and then an in position, and then as well as does have a ground connection. This one up here, the X3, goes to our manual switch, and the X4 goes to our thermostat wiring over here. The wind unit will go into X10. X10 is one of the few terminals that are not configurable. X10 is built only for wind and rain sensor control units, and the terminations are respect to that condition. The next thing we're going to move on to is going to be the actual devices themselves and the way they function in respect to the controller.